Once again, good morning, boys and girls back at home. Today's lesson will be Economic Resources, Grade 7. Welcome and feel most loved at home. I hope you are taking care of yourself and you are safe and sound. Before we can start, today we're going to look at our life skill of the day. Back at home, sometimes you might be chopping kales and by mistake, you cut yourself. What do you do after that? What will you do? Will you cry? I know sometimes you cry, sometimes you bleed, but that is okay. But what do you do next, boys and girls? The first thing at home, then you're going to wash your hand. Maybe you are chopping kales, you need to remove those kales pieces in your hand, then you wash it very well. You stop the bleeding, then you clean the wounds. You apply antibiotics or ointments, cover the wound, that's very important, change the dressing, get a tetanus shot. Watch for signs for the infection. It's very important because sometimes there might be infections that can occur. So I hope we have taken those points very well. The first thing, wash your hands, stop the bleeding, clean the wound, apply ointment, cover the wound, change the dressing. You get a tetanus shot and watch for signs of infection. So boys and girls, those are very important points that you need to follow, you need to apply. But again, you need also to ask for assistance from an adult if there is a nearby adult near you. To our lesson of the day, Economic Resources, Grade 7. Economic resources is made up of two words. That is economic and resources. Why should we learn this topic or this strand? It's very, very important because as we speak to the world of today, we need to know more about our economics, more about the cash flows, more about our resources around us. So we are going to define these words one by one so that we're able to understand them. Very, very important, boys and girls, back at home. Economic resource, economic resources. What is a resource? A resource is an important material. This material is available in our environment around us. Because I know you know what is in your environment. So what is in your environment which is accessible, culturally, sustainable, and help us to satisfy our needs and wants. Boys and girls, I know in grade 4, in grade 5, in grade 6, you learned about a need or a want. Now, need is very, very important because need you cannot stay without it. It is very basic. It includes the food, it includes the clothes, it needs everything that is very, very important that you cannot do without it. But a want is something that is not necessary in your life. I could say, I want an expensive watch. An expensive watch, I can do without it. But I can't do without food. I can't do without clothes. But I can do without expensive clothes. So when we talk about resources, these are materials available in our environment which are accessible, culturally sustainable, and help us to satisfy our needs and wants. Now, what is economic resource? Economic resources are resources which are used for carrying out economic activities. For example, trading, production, agribusiness, name them. So it's very important for us to have these resources because they are going to help us even in an economic world that we live in. So don't forget those two terms because your teachers back in school are going to ask you to define resource, to define economic resource. So you need to know how to differentiate the two. Resources are all the materials available in our environment which are accessible and help us to satisfy our needs and our wants as we live in this world of today. Economic resources are now the resources which are used to carry out economic activities. Resources can be used in different activities, but here specifically we are talking about economic resources, those ones that are used specifically for economic activities. Do they have characteristics? These economic resources have characteristics. These economic resources have characteristics. They have some characteristics. Number one, scarcity, alternative use, and utility. Let's look at scarcity. These resources are not enough to satisfy all the human wants. They cannot satisfy all the human wants in the whole world. They are scarce. They are not found in all the places. So characteristics number one of the economic resources is that they are scarce, or what we talk about scarcity. They have different uses, and that brings us what we call alternative use. Let's take, for example, an example of land. Land can be used in construction, and land can be used for agricultural activities. So it has alternative uses. The same land can be used for construction of classes, constructions of swimming pools at school or in any other social place. So when we talk about utility, utility is also one of the characteristics. And utility is the ability of that economic resource to be used. They serve a purpose. That land, that lake, that ocean, that piece of building that you have, it has a purpose, it has a use, and that brings to us the characteristic number three. So we have talked about scarcity. Repeat back at home, scarcity. Alternative uses. They have different uses, and it also has the ability to be used. It has a purpose. Number four, combinability. Combinability is that ability to combine these different resources to use them to produce different goods or services. When we talk about combinability, for example, let's look at the same example, the land. On our piece of land, we need farmers. Farmers are also economic resources because they provide labor. So I will combine the farmers and I combine with my land, and I have what we call combinability. They work hand in hand so that we can produce maize, we can produce food, we can produce all the ingredients that we use to cook our foods back at home. Another characteristic is that it has the ability to be transferred. So we talk about transferable. They can be transferred from one person to another. They can change ownership. You can sell your piece of land to another owner. So they have that characteristics called transferable. And lastly, we talked about monetary value. Their value can be expressed in terms of money. They can be used as a measure of wealth. And that's why when you're asked, what do you own? You also include your pieces of land. You also include your buildings, because they have what we call the monetary value. So we talked about number one, scarcity. So scarcity, number one, characteristics. Alternative use, utility, combinability, transferable, and also monetary value. Those are characteristics of economic resources. Economic resources. Economic resources. Economic resources. How are they classified? The economic resources are classified into three main categories. Category number one, human-made economic resources. Human-made economic resources. Natural economic resources. Human resource. These are the three classifications of economic resources that we are going to talk about. Let's start with the first one, boys and girls at home. Human-made economic resource. Human-made economic resource. These are resources that are created by human being. Now, the human being has the knowledge and the skill to come up with an economic resource. And when you create an economic resource, even you at home, you can try to create one. When you create it using your knowledge and skill, that economic resource is going to be classified under the man-made, or what we call the human-made economic resources. Let's look at the examples of these human-made economic resources. So we have said they are resources that are created by human beings through various productions. Human beings use their knowledge and their skills to come up with these resources. Let's look at one of that. Look at that. What is that, boys and girls? Look at that. How many people have ever bothered that kind of human-made economic resource, or what we call the man-made economic resource? That is an aeroplane. I remember one time bothering it, and it was nice because I could move from one place to the other using, yeah, look at it, boys and girls, look at it. That is the aeroplane. I know most of you or some of you have boarded that as a means of transport. And they enjoyed because they were able to move from one place to another. So that one is one of the example of a man-made economic resource, or what we call the human-made economic resource. Let's look at the other examples. Example of human-made or man-made economic resources. One, tarmac roads. We need roads to move from one place to another. Books, machineries, dam, watch, cars, trains, railway line. Name them. Any economic resource that is made by man around you, the television, yeah, the laptops, the computers, back at home, the phones we use, those are man-made economic resources because they have been made by man. They have been made by human beings. So those ones we call them man-made economic resources. Let's continue, boys and girls. I know you are really enjoying these economic resources. We go to category number 2, called the natural economic resources. Natural. No man-made skill, no human being skill. These are resources that exist in nature and are found naturally in the environment. Naturally. Human beings were created and they found these natural economic resources. God himself is the one who created these or came up with economic resources which we call the natural economic resources. These resources play an important role in our lives. We cannot do without them. They are very important. They are very crucial. The natural economic resources are not created by man, but these resources are naturally found from the name natural. They are naturally found or they naturally exist. Aha. Can somebody tell me back at home what I'm going to display? I am going to display for you a natural economic resource. And I will wish you discuss if you have your parent near you, you have your sister, you have your brother, and you tell me which economic resource is that? Which economic resource is that? Aha. Now, are you looking at it, boys and girls? Look at it. Which economic resource is that? Aha. That one is a river. That one is a river. I clap for you back at home. Good work, boys and girls. That is a river. And that river is naturally found, or it existed naturally. And that one is an example of a natural economic resource. Natural economic resource. And once again, boys and girls, I just want to caution you. You know, we are living in very difficult times as we speak now. The opening of school was extended just because of the floods. Our rivers are really flooded, boys and girls. And as we plan to open the school and go back to our schools, kindly take caution, because one of the cause of death can also be the natural resource that is there that we have displayed on our screens. Please take care as you go back or as you open the school, because we really love you. KUTV needs you. We love you so much, and we need you to live and study and become the best boy, the best citizen, the best girl ever that we have ever found in this whole world. Let's continue with these natural economic resources. Other examples of natural economic resources. Other examples of natural economic resources. We have talked about the river, and it has been displayed. We also have mountains. We have lakes, wind, sun, minerals, water, soil, or land, natural forests, children, natural forests. So mountains, lakes, wind, sun, mineral, water, soil, natural forest are some of the examples of natural economic resources. Naturally, because they are found naturally. God is the one who gave them to us. Let's look at the last category of economic resources. Our last category of economic resources is the human economic resource. The human economic resource. The human economic resources, these are referred to as the people who provide what we call the human service. The labor is very, very important in every department or in any part of this world. And these kind of economic resources are found in the hospitals, the schools, farms, industries, because they provide their service in those places. Human economic resources refers to the people, the labor, the people who provide these services. And they include farmers, they include teachers, the drivers, painters, nurses, doctors, engineers. Now, these human economic resources are very crucial. Let's look at the picture that is going to be displayed there. There are people who are working in the farm. Those wonderful, those people are working in that farm, and those are one of the examples that we have talked about. The farmers, they are what we refer to as the human economic resource. These are people who provide their services, their critical service, to ensure that we are able to be empowered economically. So we have talked about three categories of economic resources. One, the man-made economic resource. Two, the natural economic resource. And lastly, the human economic resource. So we have three classification of economic resources. I want us to look at sustainable ways of using our economic resources. We have said that these economic resources have characteristics, and one of the characteristics we talk about, they are scarce. They are not found everywhere. And that's why we need to know, how are we supposed to use these economic resources? Are there sustainable ways? And boys and girls, we are not going to exhaust all the sustainable ways, but I will wish that at your own time, can you think, can you ask your parent, can you ask your guardian, can you ask your friends some of the ways in which they can sustainable way of using economic resources, that they can use these economic resources without wastage. They can preserve them, they can conserve them. And number one, we have promoting, recycling, and reusing. Promoting, recycling, and reusing. It's a sustainable way of using an economic resource. Promoting, recycling, and reusing. Now, what is recycling? Recycling, when we talk about water, for instance, recycling is where a water, water is taken back to the water treatment farm where it is treated. So recycling refers more to the treatment when we talk about water. But when we talk about goods like plastics, for instance, or tires, this is a way whereby we are able to transform an old product into a new product. For instance, you take the glasses and you break them into small pieces and you create another new product from it. That is what we call recycling. And it is important for us to promote recycling. We are also supposed to promote reusing. Instead of throwing them and wasting them, you can reuse so that we are able to conserve, or we use them in a manner that we can use it even in future. Avoid wastage and use the non-environmental pollutants. Those pollutants those materials in our environment that don't pollute or does not destroy our resources. Safeguarding natural resources like air, water, land for benefit of the future. We are supposed to safeguard, we are supposed to nurture. Let's continue. We should also do what we call adopting efficient technology. Use the technology that is going to help us conserve or promote or try not to pollute the resources that we have. Investing in renewable energy. Renewable energy, for example, wind, sun, water. Can we invest more in renewable than non-renewable? Because non-renewable, most of them, they pollute our resources. They destroy our resources. So we need to invest more in the renewable energy sources like sun, wind. Promoting fair labor practice. We have just talked about the human economic resources. The human economic resources. And we have said these are people. I want to tell you, boys and girls, these people need to have what we call fair labor practices, where they are honored, where they are appreciated also. I know no one can appreciate 100%, but these people need to be promoted by what we call fair labor practice. At home, I will wish that you write 3 other points of your own. Write 3 other points of your own. Discuss it with your parents. Let them know, let them see if you are right. It's on the screen, boys and girls. You can note it down so that at your free time, you can write other 3 points of your own, whereby you can discuss what are the sustainable ways in which we can use these economic resources without destroying them, without also affecting them. Now, in grade 7, again, boys and girls, we want now to talk specifically over one economic resource referred to as metallic materials. Metallic materials. Most of the things around us are made of metals. Some of them made of wood. But we'll still talk about the non-metals. But let us talk about metallic materials. And we are going to ask ourselves, what is a metal? A metal is a solid material, which is typically hard, shiny, malleable, fusible, ductile. And it's important for us to note that metals are solid materials, which are very, very important in providing for us the economic activities that we need. Metals can be classified into 2. We have what we call the ferrous metal and the non-ferrous metals. Ferrous metals are metals that consist mostly of iron, and they have some small amount of it. But what we need to understand, boys and girls, if somebody asks you, define ferrous metals, or what is a ferrous metal? These are metals that consist or contain the iron in them. The non-ferrous metals, they do not have, underline that, they do not have any iron in them at all. That's why they are called non-ferrous metals. They don't have any iron. But ferrous, we have said, they have iron in them. So we have ferrous metals and non-ferrous metals. Ferrous metals and non-ferrous what? Metals. Examples of metallic materials. Examples of metallic materials. Examples of metallic materials, boys and girls. 1. Good, bravo. I see you know them. One example of metallic material is copper. Copper, aluminium, iron, steel, zinc, tin, silver, and they are used in various forms. For instance, copper wires or copper metal is used in electric wires. At home, our connections at home are made using wires, and those wires, they are made of copper. We also have aluminium. Our sufrias, the utensils back at home, are made of aluminium. Some are made of steel, we don't refuse, but most sufrias are made of aluminium. So we have talked about iron, steel, copper, aluminium, bronze, zinc, tin, lead, and even silver. Those are examples of metallic materials. Those are examples. And I want us to look at some of the products or some of the materials that are made of these metals. One of them is gold. It is going to be displayed so that you can see gold. Hey, gold. Yeah, gold. What can you do if you are just walking and by mistake or by God's grace you meet gold? What will you do? but one of the materials that we have there is gold. We also have silver. Yeah, silver. Our coins that we use, boys and girls, are made of silver. So we have gold, we have silver, gold, silver. We also have another picture that will follow. We have iron. That is, yeah, it's there on the display. We have the iron. We have steel. Those are examples of metals. Iron, steel, and we also have copper. Copper is an example of copper. It is there. Look at those copper wires. Look at them. Wonderful. Look at them. That is a metal. I feel like drinking those juices there. Yeah, they are making me to salivate, boys and girls at home. That is, yeah, those are some of the materials that are made of aluminium. Aluminium. Get one. You can also tell your parents to give you one if they can afford. So we have copper. We also have aluminium. Bronze. Bronze is there also. The bells. Our schools, we use the bell, and the bell is made of bronze. Some of those bells. We also have portraits. It's on the screen. Look at it. How many people have walked in town and have seen such a portrait? Good. Wonderful. Very nice. So let's continue. So those are examples of metals that we have talked about. But remember, we have said metals can be classified into two. We have the ferrous metals that contain iron. We have the non-ferrous metals that do not contain any iron. Physical properties of ferrous. The ferrous metals. Do they have some characteristics? Do they have some physical properties? Now, boys and girls, metals have different properties. But we are going to classify them under the two. The ferrous metals and the non-ferrous metals. Let's start with the ferrous metals. Ferrous metals are highly attracted to a magnet. Ferrous metals are highly attracted. They are highly attracted. Let's follow together. Number one, ferrous metals are highly attracted to a magnet. Ferrous metals are better conductors of heat. So they are good conductors compared to the non-ferrous what? Metals. Number three, the ferrous metals have a silvery color. Number four, ferrous metals are poor conductors of electricity compared to non-ferrous. When you look at non-ferrous metals, those ones that don't have iron, they are good conductors of electricity compared to the ferrous one. So number one, we have said ferrous metals are highly attracted to magnets. They are good conductors of heat. They are silvery in color, and they are poor conductors of electricity if we could compare them with non-ferrous metals. Look at that, boys and girls. I want to display for you a magnet attracting ferrous metals. It is, look at it, boys and girls, look at it clearly. Now, up there we have what we call a magnet. And down here we have what we call ferrous metals. Now, that just is an indication of how the ferrous metals are highly attracted to magnet. They are highly attracted to magnet. So, back to the points that we have talked about, we have said ferrous metals are highly attracted to magnet. They are good conductors of heat compared to non-ferrous metals. They are shiny. They are silvery. And ferrous metals are poor conductors of what? Of electricity compared to non-ferrous metals. Examples of ferrous metals. Examples. Ensure you are writing. I'll go slowly here because this is a common question. It's a very, very common question. Most of the time, our teachers are going to ask you, what are the non-ferrous and what are the ferrous metals? Number one, we have iron. Iron is an example of ferrous metal. We have steel, cobalt, nickel, we have nickel, we have tin. I'll repeat again: iron, steel, cobalt, nickel, and tin. Those are just few examples of ferrous metals. Please, please, boys and girls, my children, listen. Don't forget the physical properties of these ferrous metals. We have said they are highly attracted to magnet. They are good conductors of heat, but they are poor conductors of electricity in comparison to non-ferrous. Listen to that. In comparison to non-ferrous metals. And we have also said they are they are shiny in color. Let's look at the physical properties of non-ferrous. And the opposite becomes the answer. The opposite becomes the answer. Now you know the answer. Let's go together. Let's go together because now you know the answer. The opposite. The opposite of the physical properties. The physical properties of ferrous are the opposite becomes the physical properties of the non-ferrous metals. Non-ferrous metals are not magnetic. The opposite. Non-ferrous metals are not magnetic. So they are what? Non-magnetic. They are non-magnetic. They are poorly attracted to magnet. That's why we call they are non-magnetic. Non-ferrous metals are poor conductors of heat. They are poor conductors of heat in comparison to ferrous what? Metals. They are poor conductors of heat. Non-ferrous metals like gold have more colorful appearance. They have more colorful. They look goldish. Look at bronze, the one we talked about. So they are not shiny, but they look colorful compared to the ferrous metals. Non-ferrous metals like copper are better conductors of electricity. Look at aluminium. Aluminium is a good conductor of electricity. Copper is a good conductor of electricity. So number one, physical property of non-ferrous we have talked about, they are non-magnetic, they are poor conductors of heat, they appear colorful, and they are good conductors of electricity. Note those physical properties and any other that you will meet that is important. Examples of non-ferrous metals. These non-ferrous metals, we have said they are non-magnetic. They are non-magnetic. That means they don't attract magnet. They are poor conductors of heat, but they are good conductors of electricity. And again, we have said they are colorful in terms of their appearance. So children, we have ferrous metals and we have non-ferrous metals. Let's look at the non-metallic metals. Non-metallic metals. Around us, around you, can you just look around you? Where you are, just look around you. Take your time, look around you, check around you. Give me some of the materials that you think are not metallic. Give me some of the materials you think are not metallic, boys and girls. I know you get one. Even the one you are using to write. You shall get one. Look around you. Have you found one? Have you found one? Good, good, wonderful. Wonderful, boys and girls, that is so nice. Very nice. Thumbs up at home. We have one example of non-metallic material. Number one. Right at home, we have wood. So wood is non-metallic. Wood is non-metallic. So we have wood. Wood is non-metallic. We have textile. We have glass. We have plastic. We have water. We have soil. We have also rubber and many other non-metallic materials that we have. Non-metallic. It's going to be displayed so that you can go through them. Non-metallic materials. We have wood. We have textile. We have glasses. We have plastic. We have water. We have stones, soil, leather, rubber, and even air, among others. Even air we breathe in, oxygen, carbon dioxide. Those are non-metallic materials because they are not metals at all. They are non-metallic materials that we have. They are non-metallic materials that we have. We have said wood. I hope you are writing back at home. Wood, textile, glass, plastic, water, stones, soil, leather, and rubber. Boys and girls, we continue and we want us to note these. Non-metallic materials can be categorized in two. Just the way we categorize metallic materials, we will categorize non-metallic into two: synthetic or natural. So we have synthetic. So we have synthetic. Let's go together, boys and girls. Non-metallic materials can be categorized into two: synthetic or natural. Synthetic or natural. Now, synthetic, these are non-metallic that have been manufactured, the industries. They are not naturally found. They are non-metallic, yes, of course, but they are not what? Naturally found. Example, we have glasses, fiber, polythene, ink, paints, drugs, name them. Those ones that have been manufactured. Natural non-metallic materials include wood, wool, bones, skin, the stones, minerals, sand, clay, anything that is now non-metallic, that is not created by man, that is not manufactured. Physical properties of non-metallic materials. Physical properties of non-metallic materials, and I'll go very fast. It's going to be displayed there, children. One physical property is that they are non-metals. Non-metals can exist in all the three physical properties. They can exist as solid, liquids, or gases. Non-metals are generally soft. They are generally what? Soft. They are generally soft. And also we can say they have the ability to rot. They have the ability to rot, and most of the natural ones have the ability to decompose. Synthetic non-metallic materials do not decompose easily. That's another characteristic of non-metallic. Non-metallic materials generally burn in fire. Non-metallic materials do not conduct heat easily. They do not conduct heat easily. On our next slides, naturally, non-metallic materials are dull. They are dull in color compared to metals. So we have talked about the physical properties of non-metals. The physical properties of non-metals. One of them we have said is that non-metallic materials generally burn in fire, except earth and mineral products. Non-metallic materials do not conduct heat easily, children. Non-metallic materials do not conduct heat easily. Natural non-metallic materials are dull, but synthetic non-metallic materials appear a bit what? Shiny. A bit shiny. We are going to distinguish, in our next slide, children, we are going now to talk about the difference between metallic materials and non-metallic materials in details. We have talked about metallic materials, children. We have said metallic materials are divided into two. That is ferrous and non-ferrous. And we have said ferrous have what? The ferrous materials have what? They have iron in them. The non-ferrous materials do not have iron. We have also talked about non-metallic materials. And we have said non-metallic materials are categorized into two. They can be synthetic, the ones that have been manufactured. They can be natural, the ones that are found naturally around us. So we have the distinction between metallic and non-metallic. There's a table that is displayed. There is a table that is going to be displayed there. Let's look at it. Our first distinction is that metallic material, some rust. Non-metallic do not rust. They have a definite shape. They have a definite shape. They produce a sharp, loud sound on knocking. That is metallic. They produce a dull sound on knocking. That one is non-metallic. Then we have metallic materials. They are more reflective. They are less what? Reflective. When you look, can we go through that table, children, together? Compare the two distinctions. Compare the two distinctions. Some rust, some do not rust. Metallic materials, we have said some will rust. Non-metallic materials, they do not rust. Metallic materials have a definite shape. Metallic materials have a definite shape. To our next slide, as we continue with those distinctions, metallic materials are generally smooth. Go through that table, children. Let's go through that table. Metallic materials, they are generally what? Smooth. They are generally smooth, metallic materials. Non-metallic materials, they are generally rough. But when they are polished, they can turn to be smooth. Metallic materials heat up faster. Non-metallic materials, they heat up slowly. They are not easy to break, metallic materials. Non-metallic materials are easier to break. Then lastly, they are non-biodegradable. Metallic materials do not decay. But non-metallic materials, more so the ones that are found naturally, they decay. I want us to go to our two questions as we finish, as we are at the tail end of our lesson, boys and girls. Let's see if we can remember what we have learned. Question number one. Question number one, boys and girls. Question number one. Question number one. Question number one. Let's read together. Wonderful. I can see, I can follow online. I'm seeing people are texting the answers. People are commenting on the answers. Wonderful, wonderful. Use the numbers down there. You will use the numbers, use our links, give us the answers. Name two characteristics of economic resources. Name two characteristics of economic resources. Who has found the answer at home? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. The number will be displayed there, children. The number is going to be displayed there. Give us your answers. Name two characteristics of economic resources. Name two characteristics of economic resources. One of them we said, they are scarce. Wonderful. So scarcity. Wonderful. Somebody has found it right. Wonderful. We have utility. Good. Alternative use. To our second question, list two examples of ferrous metals. List two examples of ferrous metals. List two examples of ferrous metals. We said ferrous metals have iron in them. To our icebreaker. To our icebreaker. Let's see who is going to get the icebreaker of the day. Aha. Let's see. A monkey, a squirrel, and a bird were jumping on a coconut tree. It's displayed. Let's read it together. A monkey, a monkey, a monkey, a squirrel, and a bird were jumping on a coconut tree. Who do you think got the banana first? That is the icebreaker. Good children, give me the answer. A monkey, a squirrel, and a bird were jumping on a coconut tree the way I'm jumping. A monkey, a squirrel, a bird were jumping on a coconut tree. Who do you think got the banana first between the three? And boys and girls, I love you so much. Take care of yourself. And sure, you look amazing. And I am displaying for you a goodbye display telling you bye-bye. And let's meet once again. Our next lesson, children. Don't forget what we have learned. Take care of yourself. Greet for me your parents. Tell them KUTV, love them and love them so much. And we are proud of them for being our parents and giving birth unto us. Bye-bye, children. Goodbye. We love you so much. And take care. Thumbs up. Bye.